Hi, welcome back to my channel, All Things Women. If you're a new subscriber, thank you for joining us today. This channel is about all things women. We talk about everything that has to do with a woman, and yes, we do talk about our husbands, our partners, and our friends as well. And for all the returning subscribers, thank you for all the support. I appreciate that. We're talking about the advantages of interracial relationships. Last week, I talked about the challenges of interracial relationships. So if you've not seen the video, please click the link below, watch the video. So what are the advantages of interracial relationships? Before I delve into these advantages, I just want to say something. We fall in love. Women in every part of the world fall in love. And we have different reasons of falling in love. And it is sweet when you find the right person to fall in love with. And it's something that you cherish because you are loved and they are loved. So everybody have their reason. As I'm doing this video today, I am not doing it to go and encourage somebody who doesn't want to be in interracial relationship to go into that. No. I am doing this video today because there's so many people that might be wondering, what is it even there? Is there any good thing? Because there, as I discussed last week, there were a lot of negativities. There were a lot of things about interracial relationship. There were a lot of challenges. So I just thought to balance it up to also say the good things in it. But whoever you choose to fall in love with, whoever you choose to settle with, it's your choice. And there must be a reason. There must be something about that person, something special about that person that you and you alone have seen, and you think, oh, I love this. I love this about this person, and that is why I am getting married to this person. So I have a friend who, when we're still in Nigeria, who just loves white people. And I remember vividly, bless her, she's bent on marrying a white man. She said to me, I'm going to speak the Nigerian pidgin now. She said, I must marry Oyibo, even if na one-legged Oyibo, I must marry Oyibo. Bless her, she's such a lovely and funny girl. So, but that's her choice. And thank goodness today, yes, of course, she's married to a white man. Another friend of mine says she wants to marry a white man because she wants to have a mixed race children. So my point is that we all have preferences. We all have choices. The purpose of this video today is to tell one or two people who might be in interracial relationships, who might be wondering, is it really worth it? I am in one, and I know and I believe strongly it is worth it. But that said, we have to go into a relationship or marry someone that we're compatible with. Because at the end of the day, when you marry someone, you're not marrying their skin color. That is the truth. You're marrying the person's personality. Do it for the right reasons. That's it. So the first one, diverse genetics. What does this mean? It means that the children from interracial couples tend to come out with the best of genes. So any recessive diseases in either parent oftentimes are not affected by them because they tend to pick out the best gene. There was a study in 2015, and this study surveyed 350,000 people in urban and rural areas. And this study was able to find out that interracial couples' children tend to have a very good height, tend to have a good lung capacity, tend to have general cognitive ability, and they tend to do well in their education. Their education attainment is excellent. So this correlates from their genetic diversity. So this study says that. So if you're thinking of marrying somebody from another race, consider that. Now, second point is culture. Interracial relationships gives you the opportunity to explore another person's culture. Sometimes we are in our bubble, we're in our small world, and we have these ideas about a lot of people until we tend to associate with them, until we tend to know them better, until we tend to be part of their life, and we will be able to understand them more. Being in an interracial relationship has actually made me understand the British culture a little bit more, some of the things we do take for granted, or some of the things that we do, I've come to realize that here it's not really acceptable. For example, in Nigeria, when you're attending an occasion, there's something in Africa they call African time. What does this African time mean? African time means that when you're given an appointment, or when you have an occasion, you have a birthday party or something to attend that you're invited, maybe they've given you 2 p.m. to attend that function. What do? You don't turn up on time. So these days, what people do is that when they invite you for an occasion, they tell you, it's not an African time. It is the right time. If it's 2, it's 2. So with the Western culture, I've come to understand and respect time. When you're given a time, an appointment, man, you gotta keep that time. It applies to the bus, it applies to the train, it's also applicable on the flight. When they give you time for your flight, you don't mess about. So my husband is time conscious. If we are going somewhere, I'll ask him, Stephen, what is the time? I want to know the time so that I will know when to get up and start preparing, because I don't want to go late. Again, the culture varies. The culture also has taught me a lot of food. It has taught me a lot of food that we eat. Because whilst I was in Nigeria, there's so many things I don't eat. But now I've come to eat them. Not just eating them, I've also come to appreciate the nutritional essence of those food. In Africa, we tend to cook most of our vegetables, but here you eat a lot of vegetables. So there are some differences, and also applicable to my husband, because before I met Stephen, he doesn't know what's called jollof rice. He doesn't even know what's called plantain. He doesn't know what's called fried rice. They have soup, you know. Here they have soup. They have like potato soup, chicken soup, you know, carrot soup. You got a lot of things like that. But we have what we call our soup. My husband now has understood the difference between soup and soup. So I make my African soup with all, you know, the maize, the vegetables, you know, all the spices and all that. Then I make the English soup. I can start to make carrot soup. Being in an interracial relationship has given me the ability to learn quite a lot about culture. Am I going to talk about my mother-in-law? Yes. My mother-in-law, I call her by her name. My mother-in-law, before she comes to my house, she calls me, say, oh, Maggie, are you around? I like to come. Things are done in a very respectable way. Before she turns up, she tells me. But in Africa, your mother-in-law can turn up, and how dare you ask her, why did you just come to my house? Don't get me wrong, honestly. There's lovely, lovely father and mother-in-laws in Africa that they do things in a respectable way. But some of them just turn up and it's acceptable. Your mother-in-law can just turn up, knock at the door, and you don't question her what she's doing, because it's her house just like it's your house. Another good thing in interracial relationship is sharing your knowledge. Like I've just said about the culture, it's similar. You know, there are some things that my husband has actually learned a lot from me about Nigeria. Before I met Stephen, he's only heard and seen Africa from the eyes of the television. What's said on the TV based on what he's read. But with him knowing me, with him meeting me, he has come to know Africa better. He has come to understand that it's not everything that's said on the television is the truth. He has also come to understand that these are good people. They are loving people. They are people that are so acceptable and receptant of anyone who comes close to them. So he has learned quite a lot about my culture, and same applicable to me. I've also learned a lot about the British culture. Again, don't get me wrong, each culture have their pros and their cons. I always say to myself that when you come to a place, you take the best of it. Just like we talked about the genes, the children take the best of it. So that's the good thing with marrying into another race. You take the best of that. You discard the ones that are not good. I take the best of my culture in Nigeria. And I discard the ones I feel that they're not adding any value to my life. So you take this part of the culture that is so great, you take the part of the Western culture that is so great, you blend both of them and you get the best of it. And the good thing about marrying into a different race as well, it gives you the opportunity to travel. I have toured the United Kingdom. Kudos to my husband because he has taken me to a lot of places that on my own I wouldn't have dared to go. And each time we go there, he tells me about the culture. I read up about them. I go to see whether it's museum, anything that is unique about that particular place we're visiting, we go and we see about them. So when you meet somebody from another race, you'll be forced to travel because one, you'll be traveling to go see their people. You'll also be traveling to go see your people. So it's vice versa. And that also gives you that opportunity of an open-mindedness. You are open to a lot of things. You have a free mind. You are receptive. You have the ability to analyze things, and that will also give you the opportunity to see things from the other perspective. Another advantage of interracial relationship is the fight against racism. There's a lot of hatred out there. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of things going on when people don't even know each other. But just by chance, just by your skin color, just because you're from a different race, there's this hate out there. Interracial couples fight racism. How? They fight it by themselves being together. By them being together is telling the whole world that there is no need for animosity. There is no need for you to see someone with a different skin color differently, because we're all human beings. My husband doesn't see my skin color. Don't get me wrong, I've heard stories where a couple, maybe the white person, whether it's the woman or the man that is the white person, will call their partner the N-word. I've heard that. And I'm thinking, maybe they've joined together or they've come together for a different reason. I cannot, and I will not be with somebody who sees my skin color. I believe that interracial couple, they fight racism because I know how much my husband has stood up for me. Thank goodness for him. I know how much when people talk and complain about foreigners, about immigrants, my husband stands up for me. Because sometimes people have this impression that foreigners, immigrants, they come to the country, to take and take and take. And my husband keeps saying to them, I am married to a foreigner. Margaret has given her all to this country. She pays her tax. I have not taken from the system. I don't get anything from the government. I don't. So when they say all these things, my husband gets so angry. And not only that, for me to naturalize and become a British citizen, it cost my husband and I £10,800. Yes. Yes. It cost us £10,800. Now, another important point here is rounded parenting. So you have two types of parenting, the Western type of parenting and the Eastern type of parenting. The Western type of parenting is like a laid-back parenting where the child is opinionated. The child is allowed, to say things and do things the way they want it. The parents guides, the parents direct to an extent, but the child, has the say. You have the other type of parenting, which is the Eastern type, which others call it the tiger parenting, where your parents instruct. But at the same time, that Eastern type of parenting, instruct with care, with love. When the child misbehaves, the child is disciplined. But in that Eastern parenting, or the tiger type of parenting, the cultural values of where the child is coming from is instilled in that child. And that is that African style of parenting. Now, interracial couples, they come together. You take the best of both. That is the sweet things about this. You take the best of both. I take my cultural aspect of it, of of parenting. I take my discipline aspect of it. Then I bring it also to my husband's aspect of parenting, where the child, is given kind of free hand to do what they want. You want the child to, their opinion. You don't want to suppress your child. You want the child to say the way they are feeling. I combine the two. You bring out the best in your child. You give the children the best. You know when to discipline, but you also know when to let the child be themselves, to explore. Because when they explore, their minds run wide, and that is when the child is able to bring in new ideas, to do things that you'll be surprised that the child is doing. So yes, interracial relationship has its advantages, just like the disadvantages. But in everything in life, we take the best of it. And the ones that are difficult, we try to work on them to make them better. Apart from interracial couple, to be honest, every relationship, every marriage out there needs some work doing. Whether it's two white people coming together, they need some work doing. Whether it's two black people coming together, they need some work doing. It depends on you. It depends on him. It depends on her to make it work. You're someone out there thinking of marrying a white person or marrying somebody from a different race. Yes, for me, I feel that the advantages outweighs the disadvantages. Why is it so? Because you know the person you're marrying. You're not marrying their skin color. You're marrying the person, the man in that person, the woman in that person. You're marrying their personality. You're marrying the quality of life. You're marrying the person because of the way they treat you, because of the way they love you. I married my husband because deep down me, I knew it was the right one. Marry the person that compliments you. My husband compliments me, and I love him for that. And he is the best man in the whole world. And I know you will say same to your husband. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in today. If you've not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. And see you next when we'll talk about family life in the United Kingdom.